Thank you very much, Oliver. I'm very happy to be here today. I'm thankful to be here today because it's a great topic to talk about and the use of AI in education. So what I hope to share today is to talk more about how we use it in product design. And I think design as a process is really interesting in itself, and how we can put in elements of AI to sort of help people or help students get better results. So I'm Sonny CHOY. I'm a program leader of product design here at THEi. And today my topic is future-proofing design, how THEi uses AI to enhance product design education. So the future-proofing part, I have a list of measures that we actually use to future-proof the program, but I'll also give examples on how we use AI to help that process as well. So I've had to cut this presentation down quite a bit. So this is not an exhaustive list. It's just a few of the things that we do. So for example, why we want to future-proof the program is because we want graduates to be ready for their future landscape of work. And more, there are these things that come into the landscape where we have to incorporate them into the program. And so some of those things include additive manufacturing. Students need to know, or 3D printing. They need to know how to work this system and process, and how to be very proficient at creating things from idea to sketch to 3D drawing, and then to the actual 3D printed object. So that's very important. We also talk about health and wellness as a hot topic in the future, especially involving more things like aging population or general health and well-being of the society. So that's something we are focusing on. Cross-disciplinary design. So we want students to know how to work with other people, and not just with other designers or other product designers, but I'll talk more about that later. And then human AI collaboration. That's where we try and put AI into the process of designing. And I'll explain the process of designing so you know how that is actually used. And then the design for circular economy, or coming up with sustainable product designs, okay? So the talk focuses on product design. So I'll explain along the way why product designers do the things that they might do. So starting with 3D printing or additive manufacturing, did you know that with 3D printing, you can print something that is basically unmanufacturable in the traditional sense? In traditional manufacturing, you have to have a mold, you have to make the design, then you have to have a mold that fits into a giant machine that gets squeezed out as the final product. So with 3D printing, we're able to do things like this, which is fantastic. You can make things of any shape or form. As long as it fits within the printer that you're printing, you can create that thing. So that's been a revelation in the product design industry, and people do make things by 3D printing and sell them as real products. So we need to teach students to be very proficient at this process, and they are already. They know that this is an important process, and so they get very proficient at it, and they even use it to make their own prototypes and models when they present in final classwork. So how does ChatGPT help, or how does these chatbots help? We use Sage or ChatGPT. We go to POE.com. So that was mentioned before. POE.com, the website, has these chatbots. So I have a research project where I'm looking at using biological material to incorporate with some biodegradable plastic to make a biopolymer. So trying to make a biodegradable polymer using food byproducts. And as part of that, we have a member in the audience, Portal, who's the team leader for that project. So I work under that. So we can ask it prompts like this one: list potential food byproducts that can be combined with PLA plastic to make a biopolymer, but 3D printable. So already being able to enter a prompt like that makes our research so much quicker. And to just get the runs on the board, or to get the information out, here already they just give us 7, but you can keep drilling and to see what other ones you can use. So all of these, I mean, the proviso for the whole afternoon and morning has been that you do need to fact check all the AI outputs, because it may give you information, but it may not be right or correct. But it's a great starting point. So here they say you could incorporate cornstarch with PLA plastic, or you could use soy protein, Cheeto sand, or coffee grounds. these are some of the suggestions. And if you're interested in any of those, you can ask it more and drill. You can ask, oh, give me real life examples of products that use chitosan with PLA, if you can, and give me a web link to it or something. Sometimes they work out well, sometimes it doesn't, but you fact check these and it's useful as a exploratory research. So it's really useful. So, students explored lots of different materials, trying to combine them with polymers, PLA polymer like eggshells, fish bones, fish scales, all these sort of fantastic things that AI may have suggested, and they just try them out. And it really helped them, work out what is possible. In the end, we focused on eggshell and PLA plastic, and that seemed to work quite well. But initial experimentations weren't that successful. You can see this doesn't look like a plastic at all. But we kept working on that. And then in the end, finally, we were able to make, if you're not familiar with 3D printing, this is the material you put in a 3D printer to get it printed. So we made the eggshell polymer that was able to be 3D printed and biodegradable. So then students went ahead and continued their project. They have to come up with applications for these. And this is where their design sense and design ideas and creativity comes in. So let me ask you this. How many students do you think there are, primary and secondary school students there are in Hong Kong? There must be a lot. How many pens, rulers, plastic things they use and break and throw away each year or each term? Now multiply that by how many people there are in the world. What if we could just make all of this a biodegradable material so that it wouldn't harm the environment when you throw them away? So this was the basis of this concept. Some stationary items for anyone, but they are biodegradable materials. So that was, I thought, was quite good. That's student work. Okay, so the next one, health and wellness. So along with aging population and just general well-being of people, these are the things that we want students to focus on because this is a trend that's going forward. So we asked, how does ChatGPT help us with this? So I can give an example where we asked it questions for things, product ideas. So product design, the most important thing is if you design anything, it has to solve a problem. It has to be there for a reason. You don't just make it for a marketing reason or for generating sales. It has to be solving some kind of improving humanity or human well-being. So what if we give it a prompt like, assume that you're a market researcher with expansive data on the Asian market. Please list 20 health and wellness problems or peeves that customers have and that can be solved with mass manufactured consumer products and would be very well received. So I'm basically asking for products straight off the bat. But what it comes back with is really interesting because some of them might be real, but some of them might not be. And then some of them might be, you can drill further to ask for examples, real examples. But some of these things, for example, here, how this inspires students. One of the things that they said was a problem was joint pain. So people experience joint pain, and the potential solution for that is maybe a wearable joint support brace that provides compression and support to alleviate joint pain. So students thought, well, what kind of people have joint pain anyway? Are people who have exercised for a long time and over a long period of time? Or maybe elderly experience joint pain. So they kept jumping around laterally, and they thought, well, how are we going to, what if we focus on the elderly and some kind of health issues around that? And then they thought about joint pain and injury, and they realized after doing some research that elderly tend to fall over quite easily. And that was a thing that's quite important in elderly healthcare. So what if there was a way that you could detect if somebody had just fallen over and that it was serious and they needed to contact someone? It could be that the elderly are living alone, so they couldn't contact anyone because they've injured themselves. So the students came up with the idea that they could make this slipper or sandal that you could wear at home, and it would have a digital device on it that could detect serious falls from the person. And then it would automatically contact, like the Apple Watch, automatically contact some emergency people or emergency contacts or relatives or whatever. So that's one of the ideas that sprung out from this sort of AI generative ideas that came out. And then cross-disciplinary design. Another way we future-proofed the program. we want students to be able to graduate and to know or have experience working with other people. So for example, a product designer might work with marketing people. They work with sales. They work with shipping and logistics to, work out, oh, your product's too big. We need to fit it in the box smaller so that we can get it shipped more economically. Or they might work with packaging designers. So all these people that they work with, we want them to have experience doing that. So as part of the process of teaching this, we have a module called Interdisciplinary Design Project, and we keep it within the Faculty of Design. So most of them are design students, but we have advertising students, fashion and product design, and they don't know each other. They don't study together so much, except for sort of general education modules that they share classes with. So they don't really know what it is that each other do. They have some general idea, but they haven't worked with each other before. And we throw them all into the pot. They all work together in small teams with each of these programs together. And then they have to solve a solution for a large design project, like a shopping mall rebranding exercise. So the product designers will do their product thing. Maybe it's like a reception counter for the shopping mall. The advertising students would do the branding and the logo and the revamp. And then the fashion students would do the uniform for them. So they all have very clear roles in this project, but everything has to be cohesive and part of a whole, sort of a holistic kind of a solution. So, so how does ChatGPT help, or the chatbots help here? The teachers realize that most of the learning in this type of project, where you group them all together, is the conflict and the friction that they're going to experience working with each other for whatever reason. And there would be so many reasons. So just to give the teachers a bit of a head start, we asked them, we asked ChatGPT, what are some potential areas of friction in cross-disciplinary teams where the members don't know each other, and they can focus on product, fashion, and advertising members. Suggest ways to overcome these potential problems and frictions. So I found this really useful because it was just food for thought for all of us to think, okay, when we teach these students, these are the things that are going to really hold them up and get in the way of them working together. So so you can come up with hundreds of problems and solutions as well. But the thing is, it gives you the problem and the solution, and you can consider whether it's going to be realistic for your group. Are these students going to experience these things? And if you do, you have some idea of how you're going to deal with it when it comes up. So not all groups are like this group. They all love working with each other. They didn't know each other before, but they just hit it off, and they're good friends, and they work together. But the typical group would experience a lot of problems and friction. So maybe just to go back to see some of the suggestions, like for example, different priorities. In the group, maybe the product designers just want to do their reception counter and design it, and then that's it. They don't want to involve themselves with the other people's work, except for the branding part or something. So they all have different priorities. And in this particular group, they have very clear-cut things that they need to do, but they do need to work together to be cohesive. So, some of the things you can do is that make sure that everybody's clear on the priorities and that you all agree with them, and that you work together to solve these problems. So that's just some examples of some of the problems that could come up. And then human AI collaboration. So we actually try to encourage students to use some of the AI programs that are available to incorporate it into the product design process. So the process is you first have to research and find some problems to solve. And you have to find the background information to doing that as well. And then you have to come up with ideas. That's the brainstorming part. And then afterwards, you have to actually draw the design and to actually make the product. So these are some of the things that we ask students to have a look at. But probably in this one, we're going to focus on Mid-Journey, which is the image generation program, which is really useful. You might think that, oh, would you just come up with some solutions from this Mid-Journey thing? Like ask it, design me a remote control that can, I don't know, hold water or something. But it'll give you anything that you ask for. And so the way that we can use this program is in the process, before they have to come up with the ideas, how about we use it as a brainstorming tool? Okay, we can feed it prompts to give it, ask for things and ideas on concepts that, that are potentially solutions. So, for example, these are all generated by Midjourney. So I thought these were quite inspiring. I mean, if you ask it something simple like a toaster that lights up, it gives you this kind of, quite pretty looking toaster. It might not be a real toaster, but you would never imagine, oh, it could be like this. That's quite nice. And, product designers would start talking shop, like, oh, how would you manufacture that white part? And then that base, what material would you make that out of? And where are the switches and da 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 da. So it's great food for thought. Or this one, I asked it, a portable cutlery set, but show me your idea of modern. And it comes back with this sort of almost organic or sort of cellular kind of a design that it may not work in real life, but for students that didn't consider that before as an option, these are sort of great things to think about and to sort of drive their inspiration as to, what it could be. So I think these AI programs are really good for that. In this module, the students were actually designing something. The brief was to use of technology that was up and coming and was not mature, and then try and design a product for the future. So look forward and project what might people use this technology for in the future, and try and come up with a solution for something. So it's conceptual work, and that's important for product designers because you need to have a vision of what's going to happen in the future. So here, I thought this was a really nice result that came from AI. One of the students found that you could have this AI. You could talk to AI and it would give you responses in voice. And so she thought this would be great if you have kids that have to stay in hospitals for a long time. And, they don't get to see their parents all the time. They're away from their friends. They're ill. They might want a sort of a virtual companion. So we asked it, what a virtual friend that serves as a bedside light. And it comes back with these fantastic, like the virtual assistant is, or the friend is this sort of rainbow kind of a light that exists in a jar. And students may not have thought of doing something that fantastic, but it's attractive and, you could treat it as a friend. So, and then another student on the same project looking into the future, again, they thought we use AI to talk to people. Okay. So I want to make a bench that sits in a park, but people just sit down and it suddenly starts talking to you and it cheers you up because you're having a bad day and it knows how you feel because it uses AI to sense, the way you're speaking to it or the vocabulary you're using. So a talking bench that is made of a single material, these are great. I mean, the great designs in themselves, but the student pushed it a bit further and made it even more fantastic and futuristic. And she made this design in the end, which was the talking bench. Now it looks like a piece of metal, but you can sit on it. This was the model that she made as well. But, people would come to the bench and sit down and then start having a conversation. And this idea spawns from the theory of play or fun theory, where I don't know if you've seen this before, but it forces or encourages people to interact with everyday things, like turning a staircase into an electronic piano. People use the escalator less, so they get more exercise, and they meet strangers and they try and, bat out a tune together. And so it kind of spawned from this kind of research where her idea came from. I'll stand back over here because the response is better. So her objective was to reduce people's loneliness and enhance daily mood of passers-by. Okay, and that's the final design. Okay, this is the final topic. So we want students to learn more about sustainability and how to design for sustainability. As product designers, we create a lot of products and that turn into waste afterwards. And so we need to be very responsible in how we consider designing a product. So we work with a company called Lidl. They're a discount supermarket in Europe. They gave us the brief that you can design some small or some electronic or sort of household products, but they need to be as sustainable as possible. So we used AI here. We did a competition, okay, and we asked students to try to make their designs, which they had conceptual ideas about already, but to go through a filter of this competition to try and add in as many sustainable ways of manufacturing or producing as possible. So AI was used to help with the lecture notes. Okay, I prepared a long set of lecture notes. And of course, again, it's quick to come up with all these ideas, but you have to fact check all of them as well. But at the same time, you can ask AI to give you real examples. For example, I said, give me 10 measures that are sustainable manufacturing measures. Okay. And then I check all of them. And I asked them to give me examples of real companies who have used that before. So I have real examples to show. And then students in this competition, they had to look over the notes and see what can be applied to their projects. Okay. And then try and apply it to their product. And then all they had was pen and paper and an iPhone or a smartphone to do that for our competition. After they drew and presented, they presented to the class, and class had a Q&A session to drill them on things that weren't clearly explained or justified. And then finally, they were given prizes at the end of the competition for the most sustainable product. But the great thing was that at the end, the students at the end of the semester, which was at week 14, they made the prototype of that model. And so that was the final product. But all in all, around 11 measures to make manufacturing more sustainable were fact-checked and quite useful. So we came up with these 11, like design with use recycled materials, reduce packaging, or design for disassembly. There are all these techniques that you can use to make things more sustainable. So that was really useful too. All right, that's it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hi, Dr. Choi. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Extremely eye-opening. Yeah, I've been looking for ways to, how to involve in AI in product designs. Very specific questions. You demonstrate different ways of using AI in terms of, framing the questions and leading you to, the design project itself. Okay, how to cooperate in a team environment. And have you had any experience in using AI in terms of the structural design or product design? For example, if you were to make a water machine, okay, a drinking water machine that you need to heat up the water and then you dispense it. My experience is because when you're doing such kind of products, you need to do a lot of integration with existing components. For example, you need, a switch. You need a switch. You're not gonna, design the switch from scratch. Okay, it's not just doesn't make sense. So you need to, you understand. You need to know a lot of switches that are available so that you can incorporate into your design. Okay, and this is just one example. Have you had any experience using AI to try to help you to do that? Because there's a very time-consuming process in product design itself. Right. And that is incorporating existing components, okay, from, existing supply chain into your product design. Okay.
Thank you very much for that question. It's a great question. And I would be very happy to find any AI tool that could help us do that. But what I've seen is that just the chatbots, I haven't experienced so many. Maybe there are lots of brand new type of AI programs that are available. I've heard that you can use them to turn images of objects into a 3D model. So you load in maybe 20 pictures of a certain object and it can draw the 3D model for you, at least the outer shell. So I think that is one of the steps towards fulfilling a product design. But if we found something like that, because I understand what you mean, existing product, you're a factory, I've made Model Y. Model Y has 20 components I can reuse in something else, but I need to push out a new product. So I need all of that to be integrated into the new product. I think engineers are very useful in that case. I wish we could find a solution for that. I haven't seen a solution so far, but I think also the chatbots are useful in giving the big picture to the person doing that. So where are the economies of scale if we were to incorporate this product, these components with this product? Asking for the theory behind that, like, how can I save money if I have 20 components to put into something or other? If you can engineer the prompt in a very specific way, you might be surprised to get something that is kind of useful. I don't think it could give you the definitive answer, but it can definitely give you a guidance as to, some strategies or some ways or some pitfalls that you need to avoid. So maybe that, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, thank you for the question.
Do you find teaching design more effective with AI, or is it just creating more workload and fact checking?
Okay, great. That's a great question. We've had a similar one before as well. I love using AI, and I'll tell you why. Like the speaker we had before from American International School, they mentioned that sometimes the teacher is the bottleneck because you have to get to each of the groups who are doing their designs, and they have a load of questions to ask each group has a load of questions to ask. And a lot of that could be done with AI to help facilitate the formative feedback as a tutor. And a lot of these things, you can get a pretty good answer out of AI to get them not stuck on the project, but to continue with their feedback and with their, moving forward. So I think it doesn't, for design, it doesn't generate more work for me. Actually, it helps the process and helps students gain a deeper insight. I think AI is really good for giving more insight as well. Like you can ask it a question like, if I had a potato peeler that was really terrible, what problems have people complained about? And, these are things, if you've used the potato peeler 100 times, you would know what the problems are. But if you haven't, this is a good starting point to find problems that you actually need to solve or need to improve upon. So I think AI is really good for that because it gathers all this information from the internet, and it may not be true or factual. You do need to check it, but it's a starting point to maybe go and ask your mum, what do you think of the peeler? Do you have these 10 problems that AI told me? And you can check, and you can check with other people. It doesn't replace primary research where you go and ask in surveys or questionnaires and things, but it is a great starting point. Yeah, thank you.